reaching out, and my heart is with you. So much in between, things we've never seen. You're a mirage that my mind can't see through. Are you here with me? One day we can see. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And all my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways. All my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. But I know that time makes ways. And will my life be there one day? All I know is frozen waves, but I'm hoping time makes ways. I'm holding on to the image of you, live from far away, information highway. You're a mirage that my mind won't cling to, though you're far away, we can make a way. All my life, unbroken ways, but I know that time makes ways. Yeah, I know that time makes ways.
Tries to hold on to the bottom. Here comes Giuseppe. They make contact. They touch once, twice, 3 times. Oh, no, Rocky into the wall. Big crash front straightaway. Huge crash coming into the triangle. No, Rocky up and into the air.
They're beating and banging. Burn on the bottom. Cosman up top. I can't
Kaufman, I
call it.
think. No, Breyer by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph, no! At the line, Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe. Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your foot there. He got it. He's got it. He's got it. The canvas is going to win.
The final countdown is on for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. After tonight, there's just one race left. It'll all come down to Texas in 2 weeks' time. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FTF.GG's coverage of the the sixth race of round 2. This is what I get for not reading the script. Of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee. It's covered in dirt for tonight. Unlike the real world, they're racing on the pavement. Glad to have you with us. Jacob Pitts, James Pike, Caleb Hoffman here with you. Justin Melillo is down on pit road. We'll get to him in a while. And James, something different. We were on the pavement in round 1. The Coke Series was just here on the pavement on Tuesday. Here we are now, and we're on the dirt. Going to be a challenge.
We're on the dirt because this is the only dirt race of round 2, and they figured instead of trying to add a dirt track to the calendar, why not we just add a track and then throw dirt on it and make it at least a little bit more integrated with the regular schedule and the real life schedule. So it will play a little bit differently than what we saw in the spring when we were on the concrete, not the pavement. That's only the apron hits. Come on, you know better. Chomp chomp. NSA of it all, right? But
it's a hard surface. That's where I'm at right now. That's where the bar is.
It's a soft surface that is going to play out differently, and we may see a few different names come to the front tonight, which will make things interesting just because this is a bit of a wild card that is so late in the calendar, and it does sort of set up for where if you're trying to last gasp it, it's not quite a Talladega or a Daytona. You might not necessarily have the calamity of a plate track, but if you're out of it and you don't have a good result tonight that doesn't allow you to take advantage of the different dynamics with the surface and all, I think it's going to be tough to make up that gap at Texas in 2 weeks' time. You may be just in trouble outright.
Caleb, since we're on the dirt, no tire wear, really, seemingly, and fuel mileage, non-existent, only 110 laps. So if you're a crew chief, if you're a spotter, you've got a relatively easy night.
Absolutely. And I think what's so fun about an event like Dirt Bristol tonight is everything's out there on the track. You know, if you want to make up spots, you know, you're just going to have to go drive your heart out, drive that truck to the best of your abilities and make up spots. And that's going to definitely be on display tonight. You're going to see, I assume, lots of aggression here tonight as we do get to the end point, that closing point, because, you know, next week at Texas, that's, again, I feel that's going to be a lot tamer than tonight here at a Dirt Bristol. Definitely just a great equalizer to have in the second round. And we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be an exciting night for sure.
And again, Texas in 2 weeks' time from tonight. That's the finale. 9 o'clock Eastern, Thursday, September 29th. Let's go through our starting grid here from Bristol. Take a look, see who's on pole. It belongs to Tucker Minter. He has Seth DeMerchant lining up to the outside. Then it's Parker White, Blaze Crawford in row 2, Tyler Gary, Tommy Gossett row 3, Brendan John Kohler, Daniel Falkingham, Johnny Avila, and Kyler Wynn rounding out the top 10, James.
Jake Nichols rolls off from the 11th position this evening. Casey Tucker starts from 12th. 13th is where you'll find Brandon McKissick. Kenny Brady begins tonight for the 14th position. 15th is where Eddie Kerner starts tonight's race. 16th belongs to Garrison Hogan. Ty Bass starts in the 17th spot. 18th on the grid belongs to James Winsell. Jonathan Delaney and Tanner Love make up the top 20 in our starting grid. Caleb Huff.
Rounding out the field here, we have Daniel Smallwood in 21st, Ethan Lane alongside him in 22nd. Then we got Santiago Tires in 23rd, Matt Coker in 24th, and then Derek Lemke rounds out our field in row 13.
Let's take a look at the points here, guys. This is, after tonight, only one race to go, as I mentioned. Now, these are points after 5 races. This includes the drop week. These guys get 1 race to drop. So instead of counting 7 races, you're counting 6. This gives you the opportunity. So if you miss a race, it won't quite kill you. You'll still have that to lean on. But if you miss a race and then crash and have a bad night, you're digging yourself a deep hole. You see the tie for the lead between Parker White and Tucker Minter, both guys in this split.
Really, really tight at the top. More importantly, though, that cutoff line at 20th, very, very congested. It spread out a little bit at Darlington 2 weeks ago, but these are all the drivers that are on the outside looking in. It's worth noting that King and company are 5 points out of 20th. That 35 number is to your leader of the series, Parker White. So what that means, you've got drivers from 21st all the way back to 40th that are within 25 points of the gap. That's doable in one race. So, and I would say that's roughly about the, maybe not a mathematic cutoff, but a realistic cutoff. If you're not within 25 or 20 points going into Texas, you really don't have a shot unless a miracle happens. But if you can make it there, something wild can happen. But especially for the Falkinghams, the Kings, the Freenages, the Garrison Hogans, the Agno Phillips, they're the ones that are going to be on the knife's edge until the end of Texas in 2 weeks' time.
Just have to wait and see. We are half a lap away from getting under the green flag. We'll see how long we can make it here from Bristol. 110 laps up on the board. Just under 60 miles, really, in the grand scheme of things. This track just slightly bigger than half a mile. Tucker Minter and Seth DeMerchant lead us down. Green flag. We are racing from Bristol. A really slow start on both sides, and they're going to go 3 wide for the lead, and now some contact further behind. Brendan John Kohler stacks at the bottom. They are 3 and 4 wide coming through turn 2. Everybody keeps it pointed in the right direction. Give the lead to Parker White coming off turn 4, and Tucker Minter has to come to pit road. Some major implications. Tucker Minter is on pit road.
That is not good for Tucker Minter. Not quite sure what happened to the 10 truck, but did you all see Parker White go straight through the middle of that front row in turns 1 and 2 on the opening lap? He just shot through it like a cannon.
Oh, trouble to Merchant. He's coming to pit road. You know what? These guys are at the top of points. I wonder if they're just doing a lap and going home. Tucker has already left the track. DeMerchant's in his box. James Wenzel's on pit road now. He's rolling, James. I'm really lost, but I could see that being the move for these guys. Just take a lap and then call it a day.
Either that or ride out of the way. That's the other thing that I think might be the option here, because you know there's a lot of carnage at this dirt track. There are people that end up in trouble more often than not. So maybe this is a strategy play, but it is based on the idea that you have a drop. I think in that sense, you're definitely on to something, because Minter, DeMerchant, Wenzel, very, very good so far as the points are concerned. So they're definitely not worried about it. Other drivers like White, Crawford, Gossett, Gary and company deciding that they want to go for it. And Gary in particular, right on the edge of the cut line, he could use a top 5 like he's got, at least at this point.
And those 3 guys have all gotten back up onto the racetrack. They are still with really some strong cars. Tucker Minter, strong trucks rather. Minter just passed Kenny Brady. Minter's already a couple laps down. Here comes DeMerchant. He's going to look to get by Kenny Brady as well. Nice little battle forming in front of him though. Kerner, Brendan John Kohler, and then you got Minter, the lap truck.
And watching right now, I mean, on that initial start, they were fanning 3-4 wide in the corners, running just about everywhere. And now we're starting to see a line gradually come in. Everybody's kind of forming down to that middle. You can see the rubber starting to form on the racetrack. Whoa, big wiggle out of Brendan John Kohler right there. But just starting to see a lot more uniform driving out of these guys now that we have settled into this run just a little bit.
Really tight battling up here. This is for the 5th spot around there. The lap trucks get by 3 wide right behind. Here comes Casey Tucker trying to stick it up the middle, coming off turn number 2. Can't quite get 2 spots out of it. Looking at the front end of Brendan John Kohler, a little bit of damage to the front end of that machine.
A little bit of damage, more like a lot of damage, and a lot of damage to the right side of his Chevy Silverado as well. We'll keep an eye on that as the race progresses, but this is the best battle up front. Meanwhile, I've noticed Blaze Crawford is at least holding serve to Parker White at the very front end of this field. So White's still got control of this, but he's not totally off and away just yet. The other good battle on this track, Tommy Gossett, Tyler Gary, and Eddie Kerner and company, which is now starting to merge with Brady, with Tucker, with Kohler, with Nichols. With that whole pack, you can basically go from about, call it maybe 5th, I would say, back all the way through that big group that we just saw a few moments ago.
Let's go downstairs. Justin Melillo.
Hey, Jacob. So I took a look at Tucker, Seth, and James, all driving for Altus Esports, all came down pit road in the opening 2 laps of the race and took left side tires. I don't have any clue why they would do that. They're all 1 lap down currently. Tucker and Seth started on the front row. James started back in 18th, and I have absolutely no idea why they would do that. I would have assumed that everybody would have been able to make it on gas, would have been able to make it on tires. Maybe there's a play with putting on left side tires or something. We'll have to see if it plays out.
Really early on in the run to be making that kind of move. Thanks, Justin. We'll be checking in with him throughout the night if, I guess any more strategy comes into play. You'll notice with these guys up here at the front of the field, they were running the bottom for so long, and now they've all migrated up toward that outside wall, pushing that cushion further and further toward the barrier.
It's where you have to be. It's that cushion where the most grip is, as you see big move there. That, I think, would be some of your cars that came down pit road, or trucks rather. That's DeMerchant and Tucker Minter getting past some of our leaders here. They're working on...
Trouble! Kerner, turn 1. Caution's out. Got turned from behind by Kenny Brady. And the caution's out for the first time tonight. 15 laps in the books. And Eddie Kerner goes for a slide in turn number 1. We'll take a look at the replay here and see what happened.
Looking down on the front straight right here, you see Kenny Brady in behind him and just so close, nothing really to do. Just drives through the back of Eddie Kerner right there. And Eddie Kerner came over the radio and was very displeased with Kenny Brady right there. And probably for good reason, as we'll go on board with him and you'll be able to see this from Kenny Brady's perspective, just straight through the back of him in turn 1 and 2.
Now this will trap Seth DeMerchant and Tucker Minter. Well, it'll trap DeMerchant at least. Minter gets the free pass. He will go around and get back on the lead lap. DeMerchant and Wenzel will be stuck 1 lap down, and it's looked like they're open. Doesn't look like anybody's really going to take anything on pit road, at least I think. Maybe Justin's got something for us?
Well, I do see some guys looking towards pit road here. We could see... No, it looks like they're staying out. Everybody's staying out. DeMerchant's coming in again.
I guess since he's already a lap down, might as well. These guys on pit road, 4 tire sets in total. So they've got 3 on pit road. DeMerchant has already used 1 set of left side tires. This time he pulls into the box. Right sides go up on that Altus Esports Toyota. So takes the rights. Actually, he'll take, looks like, all 4 tires for him. Tucker Minter now back on pit road. Santiago Tira is down there as well. Now, Justin, we saw something on Tuesday night during the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race as far as restarts and lap vehicles. Can you explain that for us a bit?
Yeah, there was something that was kind of weird going on with the way that the cautions fell and the way that the lap cars were being scored as opposed to the leader. The restarts weren't really, I don't know. I don't want to like confirm or deny or anything like that anything in particular happened, but it looked to be some sort of glitch where lap cars were getting the control car. I don't think we'll have that issue here tonight with how much slower they're going, but you never know. They don't have the restart zone here either. Yeah, but everything looks to be kosher.
Just have to wait and see if this has any effects on an eventual restart. We're still riding behind the pace car right now. I believe we're going to get 1 to green, hopefully this time by. Laps clicking away here, James. Already 20 laps complete when they cross the stripe this time by. Lights do go out on the pace truck. So just like that, we are really cutting through the times, and we're going to keep seeing that with pit roads here. Or I'm sorry, with cautions here. And the potential for yellow flag stops. Good grief.
Yes. Immediately, so far as that bubble at the top 20 is concerned, which is the big thing we're going to be watching tonight, and in 2 weeks' time at Texas, one name you need to pay attention to, Tyler Gary, running in the 4th spot. That second truck of the high line is just 6 points to the good as we go back green flag racing. He needs a big night.
A great launch on the inside for Blaze Crawford. The outside line, well, actually, no. Parker White got the good launch. Blaze Crawford, not so much as they come off turn number 2. Tommy Gossett down on the inside of the racetrack trying to advance his position. He's got Tyler Gary, Kenny Brady up on the outside as they complete this first lap under the green flag.
You can see how high these guys are willing to run now. I mean, Tommy Gossett on the inside just feels like he's getting driven by Tyler Gary right now. He makes that back up in the corner, but on these straightaways, that momentum is so huge coming off the corner. So running as high as you can is very emphasized for these guys right now.
Now, what happens, James, when we get to a point where, okay, there's no more cushion. You guys have run the whole racetrack down. Now what do you do?
Well, that's part of the challenge, is it not? With these dirt tracks, the optimal groove shifts in a way that you don't necessarily see on concrete or pavement. You're not necessarily going to be glued to one part of the racetrack. You are going to have to continue searching for the fastest line. And that's part of the challenge that these drivers will encounter over the course of these 110 laps tonight. You have to be paying attention, and you have to figure out where the right place is to be in order to maximize your lap times, gain track positions, and ultimately end up with a good haul of points at the end of the night.
Oh, man. Tyler Gary almost junked it in turn 2. Kenny Brady behind him. Brady did just touch the back end of that number 3 to step it out just a little bit, but some contact there with those guys. They keep it good for now, but well, that's almost 2 that have gone around off the nose of Kenny Brady.
And right now, I mean, just looking at the amount of trucks that are coming around off turn 4 and just have some sort of left rear damage, it's so fun to watch these guys just rip it up against the top. Side by side back here, this is Johnny Avila looking to the inside, just locked in dead heat, and that's something that carries over from pavement Bristol. It's so fun to watch, is you can just run anywhere, and yeah, the line will shift, but to an extent, this does still feel like a classic Bristol. Just rip the top, but try to run the bottom as well.
Multi-groove racing that we get here with the trucks on dirt. 29 laps will be complete here this time by. Tucker Minter is flying. Remember, he got the free pass. He got back on the lead lap. He was able to pit again, stays on the lead lap, and here he is now knocking on the door of the top 10. He sits in that 11th spot, trying to get by Johnny Avila, who's right in front of him on the outside.
And the biggest thing, look at where Tucker Minter is running on the racetrack. Everybody's up on the wall for the most part. Tucker Minter is the only one that is consistently running the bottom, but he has the fresh tires to be able to do that because in theory, he's got more grip than everybody else. So part of the big brain gamble that he took by coming down pit road early to get a little bit of fresh rubber, this is where it pays off. The question now is how high can he climb through the field before we get the next yellow, or if we get another yellow.
I have a feeling it's a matter of when, not if, but we'll see as time goes on. These guys have surprised me before here, but you can see just the tight racing going on around the racetrack. That's coming off turn 4. Right around, well, a couple of Logitech G Altus cars back there, or trucks. There's Tommy Gossett throwing it down into turn number 3. Battling Casey Tucker. You got Brendan John Kohler right behind Tyler Gary, just in front of these guys.
It's so much fun to see the different disciplines. Is Tommy Gossett gonna pinch Brendan John Kohler right there? Wow. But there's so much different disciplines that go into taking this corner. I mean, you watch Brendan John Kohler right now, he'll fall in line, but I mean, I was watching Kenny Brady a few laps ago, and he would just send it on entry and let the car slide around the corner. Whereas you'll see a lot more conservative approach from some of these guys back here, where you'll just plant the car in the dirt, and then that's where your turn will initiate. It's just so much fun to watch how these guys are getting around here differently, especially only on lap 36. We still got a lot to go.
Pass for second. Kenny Brady takes it. Blaze Crawford falls to third. Tyler Gary going to peek to the inside for that spot. Caution. Derek Lemke has parked it, and Jonathan Delaney and Daniel Smallwood have crashed. Coming off turn number 2. See what happened to them. And again, Lemke brought it to pit road. He's parked it, done for the night. He will finish last. It's Smallwood and Jonathan Delaney with the caution. Let's take a look.
They all bounced off of Eddie Kerner. That's where this starts. You see the 6 truck jump up to the outside of Kerner, and then all of a sudden he bounced off the fence and went around. And when Jonathan Delaney went around, there wasn't really much that Daniel Smallwood could do. They were both sort of stuck in the same spot. So a little bit of a bang-bang accordion effect situation. But if anything, I think it spares Tucker, Gary, Kohler, Gossett. Again, I've talked about points a lot already. When you consider where these drivers are in the standings, Tucker is 15 points to the good. We've already talked about Tyler Gary being right on the edge. And then you've got Brendan Kohler, who's 13 points out as it stands, and Tommy Gossett, who's 22 points out. So people almost in different sort of quarters of that battle to be above or below the cutoff line. And in particular, if you're Gossett or Kohler, you have to have a good night. Gary needs it, but it won't kill him. But Gossett and Kohler have to start making up this gap now if they want a realistic chance to make things happen in Texas.
Did see some pit stops there during that replay under this caution flag, Justin?
I think that tires mean more than we're giving it credit for tonight. Now that the track is even slicking off, I was watching the Altus guys just seem to be actually like absolutely glued to the slick part of the track where everybody else was looking for that tacky. So all the drivers here that made the pit stop, they're probably thinking the same thing here. And I really didn't think that we'd have this much tire wear, but I mean, those guys pitted on lap 1, lap 2, and they were cutting through the field like butter. It was pretty insane.
We're almost halfway home here. We're on lap 39, lap 40 right now. Lights are still on the pace truck. So we're doing 18,000 laps of pacing under each caution tonight. That's what I've learned so far. But we're about 15 laps away from the halfway point. There's still a long way to go, but still the clock is ticking, guys.
Yeah, it's one of those you don't necessarily think about it because it feels like we just started, and yet you look up, we're 15 laps away from halfway. So not a lot of time to make things happen. And the more interesting piece, I think, and we saw it with Tucker Minter on that last run a little bit, is where does the groove land? And where do you need to be running in order to hit the fastest lap times in this race? That I expect will shift over the course of 110 laps. Where they need to be, though, and when, it's going to be a fun game to watch.
41 laps will be complete here when we get the restart. We're half a lap away from getting back under the green flag. A reminder that we're back in 2 weeks for the finale of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series for this year from Texas on Thursday, September 29th at 1:00 Eastern. Green flag, 41 laps rather, in the books. Another great start for Parker White. Kenny Brady again looking for second as the field marches their way off turn 2.
And pay attention to this bottom groove right here, especially Blaze Crawford right here, who last restart he was able to get up to the high side and just kind of tuck himself in line, and now you'll see that that spot really isn't as available. Now he has Brendan John Kohler to his outside, so now it's just a fight for who can get up to the top first, and now you're going to see Casey Tucker, Blaze Crawford be able to fall in line. That still leaves Tucker Minter out, and you'll see, again, as Justin was saying earlier, just he's able to just rip the bottom. Really impressive to see out of that truck.
For the lead, here comes Kenny Brady down on the bottom, trying to get by Parker White. Had a huge run going into turn number 1. He couldn't quite get the bottom to work, and he falls back by 2 truck lengths on that Parker White machine. Meanwhile, they're 4 wide behind. Look out, coming off turn 4. They make it. Blaze Crawford right in the middle of that. Tommy Gossett hanging on for dear life. Brady again for the lead in turn 1.
Oh, he tried to pull the slider and just didn't quite have the momentum he needed to make it happen. So he'll fall back in line behind Parker White. Meanwhile, Tyler Gary and Tucker Minter are trying to escape the absolute whirlpool that sits behind them. They were 4 wide just a few moments ago, as you said, but Gary, Minter, Kohler, Crawford, Tucker, Jake Nichols, Kyler Wynn, they're all over each other for track position as White and Brady begin to scoot away.
They will scoot away, and here is Minter. He will take that 3rd spot away. Now, something to keep in mind, Caleb, you're at a dirt track. You're running close to the wall. Wall riding could be an issue tonight. We know iRacing has said, hey, don't do it. It's against the rules.
Well, again, I mean, looking at how many guys have right rear damage, they're definitely testing their limits right now when it comes to wall riding. Another thing to look at, though, right now, I feel like, is Tucker Minter, who is just on the bottom. And, everybody else right now, except for that 6 truck, feels like they're on the top up here in this top 5. And then you see Tucker Minter, and he is just all the way down on the bottom, and it's working. I mean, his lap times right now about a tenth faster than what he's running the guys like Kenny Brady up ahead. So the bottom's definitely working, and you can see Kenny Brady, Parker White, they're now migrating down to the bottom, maybe to try to take that line away, see if they can find some speed there themselves.
Tommy Gossett is just getting eaten alive right now. Trouble, turn 2, one truck sliding it onto pit road. I don't think that was his plan. That's Jonathan Delaney. He actually keeps it on the racetrack, and he was just all by himself. Got jacked up and went around. We stay green for the time being, and now trouble off turn 2. One truck around, down to the inside wall. It's Kyler Wynn. Got bounced around off a couple different trucks, and then the outside wall. We got another one around. Okay, yep, there's Wynn. Caution's out for the third time, just shy of halfway.
It's not been a good night for the team. Daniel Smallwood got turned around earlier, and now Kyler Wynn goes around, and Kyler was just trying to slide in and get in line behind Jake Nichols and just missed it, hit the fence, and by the time he was actually pointed in the right direction, there was nothing that Tommy Gossett could have done. He gets in the back of Kyler Wynn and sends him around, and then looks like there was just a little bit of help finishing him off. Yeah.
Casey Tucker came over the radio and apologized for the contact that brought out that third caution flag. Rough night, rough go of it for Tucker. The wrangle. It's up to the wall and nowhere to go. And then here comes Gossett and the rest. So third caution flag of the night. We are going to hit halfway here under this caution flag. You see some on pit road. Most of the leaders, though, deciding to stay out. I thought maybe they would consider tires here under this pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big battle right now. I mean, we're watching laps click off the board. Even under caution, this race just, it feels like it's flown by already, almost to halfway already. I think the big debate in everyone's minds is, you know, are you going to be able to give up that track position and get tires? Will you be able to make your way back up to the front? You know, you saw some of those guys that pit literally lap 1, lap 2, and even they've had a little trouble climbing their way back through the field. Yeah, they've been faster, but the rate we're clicking off laps, you know, is it going to be worth it, you know, come lap 110?
Just have to wait and see. How about we do the iRacing almost midway race break? We're so close to halfway. We'll get it on the restart, so we'll just do this now. It's time to bring you the iRacing almost midway race break, brought to you by iRacing. iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in Australian supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. Your race leader is Parker White. Tucker Minter is in second. Kenny Brady is in third. Then Tyler Gary, Brendan John Kohler rounding out the top 5. Blaze Crawford, Jake Nichols, Casey Tucker, Seth DeMerchant, and Tommy Gossett round out your top 10, James.
Ty Bass runs in the 11th spot. 12th belongs to Garrison Hogan. Eddie Kerner holds 13th, and 14th is where you'll find Brandon McKissick. Ethan Lane is in the 15th spot. 16th is where you'll find Daniel Smallwood. Tanner Love currently runs in 17th. 18th belongs to Daniel Falkingham. Johnny Avila and Matt Cucker complete the top 20.
Looking back in 21st, we have Santiago Tires, Kyler Wynn, who was just involved in that incident, James Winsel in 23rd. Then you'll look in 24th and find Jonathan Delaney, who's running 1 lap down, and then Derek Limke rounds out the field. He has parked it and taken it home for the night.
This concludes tonight's iRacing midway race break. With over 200,000 drivers on the service and over 90 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from, iRacing is your portal to the racing world. Get on track today at iRacing.com. We are half a lap away from the restart. We'll have 55 laps to go. How about that? Perfect. Right at halfway for the restart. Parker White's on the gas. Tucker Minter a little sluggish. Green flag in the air. Kenny Brady takes second, and Minter has a whole bunch of trucks down his throat to turn 1.
Action all over the place. White and Minter continuing to go door to door in the corner. Minter's going to try and pull the slide job. They're 3 wide, a little bit further back. I think that's Blaze Crawford, Seth DeMerchant, and Jake Nichols trying to figure out who wants the 8th spot. No conclusion to that battle just yet, so they'll stay wheel to wheel to wheel in the middle of 1 and 2. The front 3 begin to scoot away. Now it's down to 2 wide, but they're still battling heavily from 5th on back.
Tucker Minter looking for the lead. He's got it. Here comes Kenny Brady underneath Parker White just for the moment in turn number 3. A bobble from White. And Brady gets into the back of Parker White coming through turn 1. He looks to the inside. Can't get the power down.
And looking back right now, still a hellacious battle. Here we go. Then you see Parker White sends it through the middle. He's going to get that spot back. What a move from Parker White underneath Kenny Brady. Now he and Brendan John Cole are going to hit the wall on the outside. That's going to give Seth the Merchant and Parker White just the amount of space they needed to start battling on their own. But don't look now. Here comes Kenny Brady back in it.
Seth the Merchant down on the bottom. He'll say, thank you very much. I'll take both those spots. Make it Altus Esports 1-2 at the front of the field. Parker White sits in 3rd. Brady in 4th. He's got Kohler all over the back bumper in that 5th spot.
Y'all know that meme of the guy standing in front of the board with all the strings attached to the thumbtack pins on that big wall of papers, and he's got his hands out? That's what this is from Minter, DeMerchant, and Altus. This is strategy brilliantly executed because they are the only ones at the front of the field that have come down pit road for tires at some point in this race. In that sense, should we be surprised that they're 1 and 2 as Parker White and Kenny Brady are fighting for the scraps of 3rd and 4th, but it's only 3rd and 4th because they're on 20-lap older tires? Brilliant play from Altus to go to pit early and outthink everyone to get the track position and get to the front.
Kenny Brady threw it in 8 miles deep into turn number 3 a lap ago. He made it stick, and he will hold off a challenge from Parker White on a crossover. Kenny Brady maintains position number 3. Parker White trying to hold on to 4th, but Brendan John Kohler has the outside rolling.
And I mean, looking right now, I mean, still even back, Tyler Gary hits the wall big time. That's going to open the door for Blaze Crawford. Starting to see these guys settle down just a little bit more. Try to find that kind of unanimous line they can all run. And right now that seems to just be the very top of the racetrack. Seeing lots of guys trying to test those limits, getting into the wall just a little bit. Lots of damage on the side of these trucks from doing this for the past 50 laps.
No doubt about it. There's damage on every truck in the field. There's no doubt. Kyler Wynn a lap ago had some issues in turn 2, kept it pointed in the right direction. How about this 3-wide battle further back? Here comes Ty Bass up the middle, trying to pick up some spots. He's got Johnny Avila looking to the inside, staggered 4 wide. Brandon McKissick down there. I think he's just trying to finish this race in one piece. Nonetheless, he's back there, stuck in the 18th position, trying to pick his way through the field. A lot of trucks in front of him and not a lot of room to go.
The one I'm watching out of this pack, though, is you see the battle a little bit further back. Big send down to the inside, but look just ahead of this at that orange and blue Altus Esports truck with the purple numbers. James Wenzel came down for pit road and got a full set of tires on that last yellow. He's only got 14 laps on his tires. He's got the freshest tires in the field, so it stands to reason that you would expect him to be able to make a run on the bottom and hold that inside lane just like Minter and DeMerchant did to get to the front. If this goes green, I have a very good feeling about where James Wenzel might end up in this race. And to be fair, I don't think he'd mind either because he came into tonight 21 points off the cutoff line, so he needs a good run to have a realistic shot at making the top 20 when we get to Texas.
Trouble for our pit reporter, Justin Melillo. Off go the lights, power outage for him. So we may not get him back the rest of the night, but we appreciate all the work that he puts in on pit road, on social media, and on and on and on. And hopefully the power comes back and the hamster can get back to powering the router here in just a moment. Looking at the battle for 8th, Nichols and Gossett fighting really, really hard. And Gossett sends it back in on the bottom. You got Wenzel right behind him.
Yeah, we're going to see Gossett fall back in line once again. That's going to open the door for Wenzel now. He's going to send it down to the inside. As James said, with those fresh tires able to stick on the rubber, and he's going to be able to fall back in line. But it looks like he's going to take the bottom once again. He's going to start getting to work on Jake Nichols, who makes contact with the outside wall just slightly.
Well past the halfway point. Some lap traffic for the leaders, trying to get by Jonathan Delaney, Kenny Brady on an island all by his lonesome. Tyler Gary in a fierce battle. Blaze Crawford is there. Wenzel is closing. And then you've got Jake Nichols and Tommy Gossett right behind. So Tyler Gary now facing some pressure out the rear bumper.
Lots of it. Crawford up top, Wenzel down low. Wenzel with the clean racetrack, just going to be able to rip that inside line and go. He's almost alongside Gary now, and might not be too long before he's clear of Gary and Crawford and finds himself right on the edge of the top 5. Parker White is up about a straightaway ahead of that bunch, but still. Big moves from James Wenzel. But then again, you know, I'd like to think I know something about James's. Perhaps, Jacob. I could be off about that, but just a hunch.
You never know, but it seems to be working. That Gialtis esports car truck just sliding his way through the field, and it's making things a lot more interesting for him if he can catch his teammates. You know, looking at it in the grand scheme of things for Wenzel, he sits 33rd in points with the drop, so a really strong finish tonight would certainly help. He only has one top 10 this entire season, so he's really looking to bring the power now down the stretch and try and stumble his way across the line and get in to the top 20.
Yeah, and I mean, what a place to try to start this rebound. I mean, being on this track right now just has to be so terrifying. Bristol in itself, as a concrete track, the sense of speed is just so great. It feels like everything is just flying past you. And now you put dirt on top of it and start sliding around in the corners, and everything starts to get just a little more unpredictable. Just a very, very scary place to be in. And now you see James Wenzel conquering that fear. And now he's going to try to get around Parker White with relative ease.
Trying to get by Kohler. Kohler, now you see him, now you don't. He's back for now. Trying to find our leaders, for goodness sake. Tucker Minter, trouble, turn 4, right in front of the leaders. Eddie Kerner, oh, a big crash. Ethan Lane piles in, and that's Tanner Love right in front of both DeMerchant and Minter. They get through. Some of these other guys back here in lap traffic do not. Caution number 4.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty simple case. Ethan Lane just overdrove the inside corner and ran straight into Eddie Kerner, turns him around, and then that starts all of this, and there's barely room for Daniel Falkingham to get underneath. I'd love to see his on board, but we'll take a look at the replay here. You'll see the initial contact where Lane and looks like Eddie Kerner get into one another. There's Falkingham, who's going to scoot right underneath them, just gets on the brakes enough, and Tanner Love had nowhere to go in that and no time to react.
Rough break for Tanner Love. Tanner Love 60th in points coming into tonight. That's with the drop. There's the onboard with Falkingham. He skates right on by. Now you see the carnage out behind the back end. Another onboard.
I mean, watching right here.
This is with Love.
You see that wreck start to happen, and just 26 just comes across. Absolutely nowhere to go, and tough break for Tanner Love. I mean, 60th in points with the drop, you said. And with that crash, not looking good next week for Texas.
Meatball flag here for Tanner Love, likely done for the night. No fast repairs here. And that'll be the night for him. So we're under our 4th caution. Inside now. 30 laps to go. Tucker Minter still your leader. Free pass. Gonna belong to Brandon McKissick, I do believe. Eddie Kerner cannot get the free pass, even though he was the first truck 1 lap down, because he was involved in the crash. He does not get the free pass.
You know who this yellow benefits the most, though?
James Wenzel?
James Wenzel, who lost all that gap and got that completely erased. Minter and DeMerchant were well gone to the rest of the field, and to the tune of about 6 or 7 seconds. It was not a small gap that those two had on everybody else. Now it's poor Kenny Brady that's a sitting duck, but what does Wenzel have compared to his teammates, given that he's got the freshest tires? Now, DeMerchant has 15 lap older tires than Wenzel. Minter has 35 lap older tires than Wenzel. So you would think in the situation Wenzel may have the advantage, but in reality, we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But it's something worth noting here that this may set up for Wenzel to get a very sorely, desperately needed win. And I wonder to what degree Minter and DeMerchant are going to be aware of that. Although DeMerchant may not care, because DeMerchant's only 8 points above the cutoff line. So he might actually go push a little bit. But Tucker Minter here might be in the ballpark of mathematically locking himself in tonight, depending on how things play out. We may well see him in the Contender Series no matter what happens. So well has his round 2 of this eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series gone in 2022.
Tanner Love, park the truck, done for the night. We are doubled up and ready to go. We're going to have 26 laps to go on the restart. Minter, DeMerchant on the gas, green flag. Tommy Gossett looking up the middle, 3 wide, further back through the field. Kenny Brady goes to the high side, bounces off the wall. Here comes Kohler down on the bottom, but it's going to be Brady with the better run on the high side. Trouble in the wall, one truck. I believe it's McKissick. No, who is that? That's Johnny Avila. No caution. We stay green. Everybody had to scatter in turn number 3 to avoid that truck coming back up toward the outside wall. We will stay under green. Battle is for 4th. Kohler and Tyler Gary.
Nightmare scenario for James Wenzel because he's trapped behind trucks that I think he's probably faster than, but he doesn't have any room to get around him. I wonder if he may try and pull the move that Parker White pulled to great effect earlier in this race and shoot that gap in the middle, but he's committed to the high line for the moment as Minter, DeMerchant, and Kenny Brady all begin to gap the rest of this field. They're clear of everyone by about 0.7 of a second.
4 wide off turn 2 almost did not work. They were able to straighten it out and get it rolling toward the back of the field. It's Minter out in front, DeMerchant second, Kenny Brady third. Brendan John Kohler has the rest of the field at his heels coming down the back straightaway to turn number 3. Here comes Wenzel. He has room up the middle. Tyler Gary down on the bottom trying to make the bottom side work, and Wenzel's looking to cut underneath 3 wide.
Lots of desperation for sure from James Wenzel. I mean, don't blink now, but we only have 22 laps to go, and these laps are just going to continue to fly off the board. If you want to make a move, try to end up in victory lane tonight, you probably needed to start going yesterday. I mean, just no time at this point. Everything, you got to do it now. You got to get around these guys in Tyler Gary, Brendan John Kohler, especially if you want to utilize those fresh tires.
Even though we're using trucks, I'm thinking about cars right now. You need tires, you idiot, right now. Tucker Minter, Seth DeMerchant, they pit for tires, and they are long gone out in front of the rest of the field. They are 2 seconds ahead of Kenny Brady, almost 4 seconds back to the rest of the field as Tyler Gary bounces off the wall. Here comes Wenzel looking for 4th.
Finally, he's found some room on the inside, but the question is whether or not he found it too late. He's now going to be clear of, I believe, everybody else just about here as Gary's got that high line stacked up. He can slide up in front if he wants. The problem is that Minter and DeMerchant are now clear by almost 4 seconds, so Wenzel's going to have to lay down some monster laps in order to make this gap up, but he's running out of time, and the bigger issue, he's just not quite as fast as his teammates. They ran 19.3s last time by. Wenzel ran a 19.5. He was 2/10 slower.
Yeah, he might need another caution in order to have a shot at his teammates, but I'm sure he would still take a 1-2-3 or a 1-2-4 for Altus Esports. He goes to the inside trying to get by Brendan John Kohler. They'll remain door handle to door handle headed down to turn number 1. Wenzel back on the gas. Can't quite slide up in front of that 11. Now he can. So move Wenzel up into P number 4. Here comes Parker White trying to charge back toward the front, looking underneath Tyler Gary for 7th.
Absolutely, and in all that chaos on that restart, we were so focused on James Wenzel, but Kenny Brady, Seth DeMerchant, Tucker Minter, absolutely just in their own zip code right now. We look back at James Wenzel, and then you start to get back to about the 6th position, where you start to see the craziness still with Tommy Gossett, Tyler Gary still interlocked in battle, Casey Tucker, Blaze Crawford just behind them. Oh, actually, big move from Tyler Gary right there to send it underneath Tommy Gossett. But right now, this is really where you see the urgency picking up.
15 to go here from Bristol. Running out of laps. They go by quick. Just 19 seconds is all it takes to get around this half-mile racetrack. Gary holds on to position at number 7. He's got Tommy Gossett to the inside. Casey Tucker is down there as well. Blaze Crawford trying to roll with that high line. He gives a shove to Gossett heading into turn number 3. Everybody back to the bottom except for that 4. Blaze Crawford.
Tyler Gary needs points. Tommy Gossett needs points. Everybody in this group just about, save for Casey Tucker, desperately in need of points to try and sort themselves out and give themselves a chance to make it into the top 20. That's the key that you have to hit at the end of this series. Blaze Crawford, only 9 points to the good. He's near the bubble. He could use a good finish. So you may see some desperation in this because this is arguably the last chance for some of these folks to really give themselves a shot at Texas. Parker White's about the only one that doesn't really have to worry. He came in with the points lead in a 35-point buffer, but everybody else going to have to fight tooth and nail for whatever they can get at the end of this.
Tommy Gossett has done everything but crash in these last 2 laps, racing really hard with Casey Tucker, and Blaze Crawford trying to hold on to every point that he can. These last 2 laps, he has been all over the place in that 80, coming to 10, now make it 9 laps to go. Look at the battle for the lead. Here comes the Merchant on Minter.
Yeah, looking right now, still just trying to navigate their way through lap traffic up through the high side. You see both these guys on the bottom right now. Seth the Merchant going to try to get to the underneath of Tucker Minter with 9 laps to go. They're still side by side through the corner. Looks like Seth the Merchant might make a little contact with Tucker Minter here, but you see how fast they're closing in on guys. This is Santiago Tires that they're coming in on right now, just absolutely flying through these lap traffic.
Coming to 7 laps to go this time by. They're on the back straightaway, headed to turn number 3. Lap traffic is ahead. Santiago Tires is right up the road. Kyler Wynn, Matt Coker and company a little further up ahead. They might get to them before the end of the race, but still, now 7 laps to go, and oh, get out of the way, Tires! Seth the Merchant gets into the back of him, coming through turns 1 and 2. That allows Minter to pull away by 4 or 5 truck lengths. Seth the Merchant now has to make up a lot of time, plus he's got damage on the front end of that truck with now 6 laps to go.
Here's my biggest question watching this situation. The Merchant was only 8 points to the good of the cutoff. Tucker Minter currently second in points with 35 points. It's pretty safe to say Seth the Merchant could use that win way more than Tucker Minter would. So may we see multi-21 type things in play? Maybe there might be team orders to see the Merchant out of the way as he almost runs into the lap traffic from the team. I think that was Kyler Wynn that came right up into the lane of Seth the Merchant, and the Merchant nearly cleaned him out. So everybody getting in Seth the Merchant's way as these laps wind down, but the Merchant needs this win more, no question about it.
Lap cars need to follow the pick it and stick it term of getting out of the way. You pick a line and you hold that line. You stick to it. You don't change at the last second. That's how accidents happen. Coming to 4 laps to go. Altus Esports 1, 2, 3 on the board. In the other split, Jordy Lopez Jr. with the win. Ryan Doucette second. Michael Cozy Jr. third. Well, guess what? James Wenzel has caught and passed Kenny Brady. He's now in the top 3, and it's the same scenario here. Tucker Minter 3 wide with lap traffic through turn 3, coming to 2 to go.
Yeah, and right now, Seth the Merchant's just watching Tucker Minter. He had a lot of trouble with those lap trucks. Seth the Merchant not going to have as much trouble, but Seth the Merchant still not sure it's going to be enough to close this gap. He's trying everything he can. No team orders here, I don't think, as now Tucker Minter will come to take the white flag.
1 lap to go here from Bristol. No eNASCAR overtime tonight. It's a quick show, and just a little too late. Seth the Merchant cannot get through the lap traffic off turn number 4. Altus Esports sweeps the weekend. Tucker Minter wins at Bristol Dirt. And for Minter, high atop the points. That's his 2nd win on the season. He won at IRP a month ago. He picks up the 2nd win of the round and will all but lock himself in to a seat at the table for the eNASCAR Contender Series after Texas in 2 weeks?
We can't officially say that Tucker Minter is going Contender Series racing, but we can just about. It's about 99.9% there. He was already right on the edge of the mathematical cutoff. And if he's clear of 41 points to the good at the end of tonight with the drops, he is there. It is almost, and even if we don't know if he's there by tonight, it may be just a start and clinch scenario at Texas for him and a lot of these other drivers. But Tucker Minter, you're going to see Contender Series racing almost certainly, and well deserved. But then again, this comes back to a point that we've made a lot in this campaign. As you see all the Altus Esports cars celebrating on the front stretch, this is a team that had a ton of speed in the qualifying series last year, and it did not translate to Contender Series in 2021. This is a team that has something to prove there. And I know they like the success here, but I have to believe they've got their eyes on what is coming later on in the fall, because they have a point to prove that for as fast as these drivers have been in all the open sessions, in all the official races, and in all the independent special events that have been held on iRacing on the oval side in the last few years, this is a team that feels like they can compete at the highest level of oval sim racing, and the Contender Series will be their chance to prove that they can do just that.
Altus Esports, top 3 in both splits. Unbelievable domination tonight from Bristol Dirt. Tucker Minter, your winner here. Seth DeMerchant in second. James Wenzel in third. Kenny Brady, Brendan John Kohler rounding out your top 5. Then it's Parker White, Tyler Gary, Casey Tucker, Tommy Gossett, Blaze Crawford rounding out the top 10.
11th tonight was Daniel Smallwood. That's a great rebound for him after getting caught up in a wreck earlier. Jake Nichols was 12th. Brandon McKissick finished in the 13th spot. 14th is where you'd find Garrison Hogan. Johnny Avila was in the 15th spot. 16th went to Daniel Falkingham. Ty Bash finished in 17th. Matt Cucker was 18th. Ethan Lane 19th. And Santiago Tires in 20th.
And then rounding out the field here, Kyler Wynn comes home 2 laps down in the 21st position. Eddie Kerner, who we saw involved in that accident, 22nd. Jonathan Delaney in 23rd, 5 laps down. Then Tanner Love, who we saw with no room to go, comes home 32 laps down in the 24th position. And Derek Limke rounds out our field in 25th, 78 laps down.
Well, we've got one of the 3. Let's talk to him because he's your race winner. Tucker Minter. You guys had the strategy set in both splits tonight. You locked up the podium in both splits tonight. Is this the announcement that, hey, we're for real this time around?
I think for sure. I mean, we had a plan and we executed it really well. We had just a great setup, to get 1-2 at least in our split in qualifying. That was it was just unbelievable. We've been struggling in Q all year, and then, it just proved we had a good set, and then that we just had to do what we'd planned to do. So, just awesome.
Obviously, caution's an issue. Let's talk about that lap traffic, though. That was key late in the race.
Yeah, it was just kind of scary when you caught the back of the pack, just because, a lot of guys here don't do a lot of dirt. I don't do a lot of dirt, but, it's so different to what we normally do. And if you haven't done a lot of practice, it can be really, really challenging, especially when the track slicks off. So like when I got my lucky dog or whatever, I was just trying to drive as slow as I possibly could, just because I knew I had enough time and everything. And then same with the end of the race, like Merch was kind of breathing down my neck, and I thought I could hold him off depending on, how we were racing each other. But then the lap traffic really decided that.
Pitting on lap 1. All 3 of you did that there, and I believe it happened in the other split as well. What was the strategy call behind that?
Well, fuel was kind of going to be an issue, so we wanted to make sure that that wasn't the case. And, sometimes you just have to make a gamble, like Kenny Rogers says.
Well, you knew when to hold him tonight, and so far, so good. Looking very strong going into Texas in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think that should lock me into contender, or at least top 20 points. So that would be, that's just awesome. I've been trying to do that for 2 years, and as long as I've been on the service, I've wanted to do it. And these last 2 years, I've thought I could, and it just hasn't worked out in Road to Pro. So just to show up this year and have the trucks that we've had and be able to perform under pressure, it's been a lot of fun.
Congratulations on the race win tonight, and we'll potentially at least see you as at least a starting park in 2 weeks' time from Texas.
I'll still be there, but yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to being on your broadcast again and representing our partners, VRS and Logitech G and all the others.
Tucker Minter, your winner tonight from Bristol Dirt, part of the Altus Esports trifecta that we have here from Bristol. And it appears nobody else wants to talk to us, guys. So unless somebody hops in at the 11th hour, James, this race went by not only quicker than I expected, this thing was fun.
The strategy, I think, was the most impressive part. It's not the first time we've seen Altus Esports do something like this, but for it to work so convincingly. There have been a few times where it's played out, but I struggle to remember times where they just look head and shoulders above everybody else. Now, biggest thing here, we've got unofficial points. Unofficially, with the drops, we have Parker White, 9 back of Tucker Minter, Joey Brown, 11 back of Tucker Minter, and now you see points on screen as well, so you get a good look at this for yourselves. But these are in relation to your points leaders. So White, Brown, Navarro, Lopez, all 40 points or more. By our math, that should mean that Minter and White, and I believe also Joey Brown, should be locked in. And Navarro and Lopez, I think, at 40 points, become a start and clinch scenario at Texas. And then everybody else, you're racing, but to some degree of whether or not you're good or not. You think of somebody like a Seth DeMerchant, who actually made more gains than I thought tonight. 20 points clear of the cutoff. So that's not completely impenetrable, but it's a good gap to have. But then you look down at the very bottom, especially 18th, 19th, 20th. Daniel Buttafuoco, Brendan Kohler, Wyatt Tinsley, 3 and 1, and no points clear of the cutoff. You are right there on the edge, so every spot is going to matter. It's a tie, actually, between Tinsley and Kyle Myers. And then look at that mess of people all in really the top 30. Hogan, Falkingham, Smallwood, Timmy Holmes, Kevin King, all within 1 point. And then add Wenzel, who drug himself back into the conversation with his run tonight. Let's give him credit. He was not in a good spot coming into this evening, but that top 3 went a big, big way towards helping out his cause. Drew Freenage will be there. Jake Nichols will be there. I know Phillip, I still think, has a shot. And then look at where Phillip is and look at everybody else's title points with him. Johnny Avila, Tommy Gossett, Dalton Collins, all within 12 points of the cutoff. And even Bergeron, Horn, Forcapa, Kerner. I mean, I would say outside of Cucker and Wynn, I won't rule out any of the rest of these top 18 having a shot to make it. And that battle for the final few spots around the bubble is going to be absolutely electric when we get to Texas in 2 weeks' time.
Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail? I'm just saying, like that. It sounds like you're going Steve Kornacki on us, going through the points. We may need you to dress up like Kornacki in 2 weeks' time if we go to Texas to keep an eye on the points. Because, man, Caleb, it is tight.
You got to give me a chance to get the brown pants from the Gap. I got the white button-down shirt, and I can do the rolled-up sleeves and the tie and maybe the glasses, but I got to go to the Gap to get the brown pants to be like Kornacki. But he is kind of my spirit animal, so I'm here for it. But yeah, Caleb, what you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thoughts leaving tonight is what a power play from Altus Esports tonight. I mean, we came in, you know, Jacob, we'll go back and look at the beginning of the show. You were like, you know, just retire your crew chief brain tonight. The strategy, we won't need it. And then here we come tonight, literally lap 1. They pit, Seth DeMerchant, Tucker Minter. We're like, are they quitting? Are they done? What are we doing? And then they come around and beat the socks off of everyone in the field. I mean, just what a power play by Altus Esports. And you know, what momentum to go into the last round at Texas before Contender to have, you know, both your guys, they sweep both splits, 1, 2, 3s, podium all Altus tonight. Just absolute power play. And I can't wait to see what that does for them going into Texas and beyond in a Contender.
Gonna be a lot of fun in 2 weeks' time, and you do not want to miss it. We're at Texas in 2 weeks. That determines who's in, who's out as far as Contender is concerned. It's going to come down to the wire, and we'll break down all of that for you after that race is said and done. But we got to get to that point 1st. So in 2 weeks' time is when you will see the three of us back together from Texas, the virtual Texas Motor Speedway, to wrap up the season. As far as FTF.GG is concerned, we got a doubleheader on Sunday night. Winsdale at 7:30 from Watkins Glen. The Barvisville FTF Cup Series from Bristol. The concrete version, that's at 8:30. Short course returns on Monday at 9:20 from Bark River. And that's about as much as I can talk about right now. SimCar is back, next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. from Long Beach. So we'll see them for that as well. For Zach Johnson, our producer, for Justin Malillo down on pit road, for Caleb Hoffman and James Pike alongside me, I'm Jacob Pitts. Thank you so much for watching. Altus Esports, domination tonight from Bristol Dirt. We'll see you in 2 weeks from Texas.